Hello guys, welcome back. Uh, this is not only the post final resolution uh, booking sort of run through monthly roundup. This is actually a yearly roundup. I did go one day too far forward, but I'll run you through the annual awards in a minute. Thank you guys for the comments on the last episode, and of course for any comments that were on the Reddit post as well that I put up about the stable we're going to run. We'll talk about that stuff later. The annual awards for the year were Tetsuya Naito winning Wrestler of the Year. Makes sense. Some mods lean heavily towards like Japanese guys or Mexican guys and stuff, and let them they have really good matches. Naito's an 86 everywhere. I think he's pulling off, yeah, like he's averaging an 89 in ring. I wonder what that is comparable to in WWE. But I think some mods do lean that way. But again, Naito's having a great year in our game, or had a great year, I guess. Tag Team of the Year: Tanahashi and Ibushi. This guy, El Cuatrero, Mexican guy. Personally, I've never heard of him in real life. Young Wrestler of the Year: 10 years of experience, 24 years old, so not bad. Again, having great matches. I think I checked this guy out earlier. He's on our shortlist now, averaging a 77. He wouldn't do this for us, obviously, because we're US based, but great ring ratings there. Veteran of the Year, Tanahashi. Again, makes a lot of sense, I think, anyway. Female Wrestler of the Year, Kana. Surprised, because I think she hadn't had that busy of a schedule. Yeah, like comparatively to some of the other guys we've seen, that's not a busy schedule for Women's Wrestler of the Year. Again, lots of matches with Shayna Baszler there. It looks like she faces Shayna Baszler 3 times, probably over 3 weeks. Then Bailey at SummerSlam. Do I mean, could you really complain? Beats Baszler, Ruby Riott, and Liv Morgan at Payback. It's an interesting title run. She also seems to, every time she's on TV, for a while there, just defend the belt. She obviously faces Baszler 3 times with no defenses, and then she defends the belt, doesn't appear until Payback. Or actually, SummerSlam and Payback both happen in August, I guess. But news to me. And then she's on TV twice before Clash of Champions, where she's defending the belt. She also defends it at Hell in a Cell, where she doesn't appear for a whole month until she defends it at Hell in a Cell. And then she defends it on SmackDown against Natalya. And then she's in a 6-man, 5-woman tag. It's interesting. I mean, she's only off one match and she's having great matches, so you can't really complain. It's confusing. Independent Wrestler of the Year, Will Ospreay, of course. Again, I'm sure he's having an absolutely insane year. Back to 2021 or 2020, averaging a 77, highest rated match 97. Golden Ace versus Ospreay and Okada. Obviously, this mod was obviously made before Ospreay created the Empire, so not much you can complain about there. Interesting thing though, Ospreay recently lost the belt. Yeah, he lost the Rev Pro undisputed British heavyweight title to Carlos Romo. Carlos Romo is very good. I've seen him in real life, but I couldn't imagine New Japan in real life allowing Carlos Romo to defeat Will Ospreay. But again, pretty interesting take by TEW there. Company of the Year, New Japan. No Most Improved Company, which is odd. Didn't actually notice that at the time. Match of the Year, Okada Ibushi, 99 rating from World Tag League Night 11. Card of the Year, Summer Struggle in Ginju 2020. Is the card going to come up here? Doesn't seem like it. Manager of the Year, Gato. Announcer, Alfonso Morales. Color is Valano Collection. Didn't actually realize Graves won it. Has he done that in real life? It's interesting. He had Ref Kyohei Owada, and that is our awards. Maybe next year we'll get something. Maybe if we had to use someone like Ace Austin a bit more, we could have got a Young Wrestler of the Year in there, but I have no complaints. In terms of that, this is our current title situation. New champion Kylie Ray. We're looking probably. I've planned the next sort of couple of months of Impact Television and pay-per-views, which noted also, are these the real sort of pay-per-views of Impact? Because I don't like Brave New World United We Stand and Badlands as pay-per-view names. I don't think they're great names, so I would kind of want to redo them. We could take in some of the old Impact names. Even like Redemption is a fairly new Impact pay-per-view, but I would happily use that over one of these. Let me know what you think of that. Obviously, I don't want to use Destination X. One, we had Ultimate X very recently, but two, we'd have to. I did make the Ultimate X match, as you've seen, at Final Resolution, but it flopped because it's, according to our product, too dangerous. So it put off the crowd. So we obviously couldn't do that or Lockdown unless we done like a PG version of it, maybe. Tweaked it slightly again, but I just used a boring, like, generic ladder match and made the match that way. So unfortunately, maybe it looks like hardcore matches are the way to go. So we could use other events, I guess, like Redemption Against All Odds, Victory Road, maybe. Because we're a good bit away from Slammiversary anyway, so the build up to Slammiversary is starting, but it's not for a while. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pay-per-views, so no rush yet. Again, women's or knockouts title scene. Kelly Ray looks like she's going to feud probably with former champ Deonna Purrazzo and former friend Su Yung. Knockouts title scene. We're gonna set up number one contender on Impact this week. Rosemary and Terre Valkyrie are first champions. They're both very over. I think it makes sense from a point of view of give them the belts, and then we can dive into their story a bit more because Rosemary's still a face, and Ty is of course heel. We can maybe get Johnny Bravo on TV a bit more, build a bit of a story. In real life, obviously Rosemary's a bit of a decay, so we could slowly build that back in. Maybe after they lose the belts, split them up. But yeah, it would be a really long way away. We don't want their run to be too short. World Champion EC3. I think the belt is still, it's keeping its momentum anyway. Did go up during December. But again, EC3's been a really good champion, a 3-time champion. So this title reign, I think that we might have a challenger for him. And shout out, by the way, to people who suggested members for his stable. We're going to talk about that when we go to the signings bit. But EC3's been a great title holder for us. I think that was probably something Impact might have done in real life had he stayed around. But I'm assuming they probably knew he wasn't going to be around for very long. Anderson and Gallows. I think at the minute with the tag team division, we've just got to build them up a bit better so that people feel like they're on the same level as Anderson and Gallows. They're going to feud this month with the North. So, I think in real life Impact have the same problem though. They're bringing in different tag teams from outside to feud with Anderson and Gallows. So, we're in a similar sort of boat. But, we're going to probably be building up a few guys in the next coming months. X Division champion Terre still holds the belt. He has one title defense. So he's, and we've got stuff planned for him. So he'll catch Chris Bay's run pretty quickly, I'm sure. In terms of our roster, this is our split. The major wrestlers, major stars, Ace Austin, EC3. If you look at EC3's pop, it's still going up, so heading towards being one of the most over in the company. Callahan is still the most over, I believe, although we did absolutely murder his overness in the last 2 months. Although I'm pretty sure at that pay-per-view he won. The December pay-per-view, I think he won his match, but he still went down. Trey's moving up into major stardom, which is good. 26 and 23. Being able to take those sort of spots at the top of the card will be very good for us. In terms of stars, Sabin, Edwards, Page, Alexander, Anderson, Rush, Moose. We would have had a big pay-per-view match for Moose, or a pay-per-view match for Moose. He would have faced James Storm, but unfortunately the injury there has cost us. Don't know why it says he's a month, or not a month, a year with Impact. Surely it's more than that. But well, maybe I doubt it's a year unless he went away and came back. Well known. Chris Bay, someone we're looking at. We have a storyline for him next month that's going to result in him getting on the pay-per-view. Obviously, he was in the Ultimate X match, but we're going to sort of take him out of the X Division. The X Division is difficult because it's not really like a stereotypical mid-card belt. So it's sort of it's not weight class, but it's stylized, I guess. So we're going to get him out of there and move him towards the top of the card. I know he's only in the sort of, he's not as hot as he once was, but some feuds with big name guys who are in the singles division will really do well for him. Let's see, Donna Prazzo did take a bit of a bump because obviously our new Knockout champion is not that over. But we've got plans for her. We're probably going to eventually align her with Kimberly, like in real life, who is, again, surprisingly over in the 40s. So she'll probably get aligned with Kimberly, and that'll sort of fix that. Rich Swann, a potential challenger for the main championship. I know he's only well known, but in kayfabe, he's just off the back of a huge win over Eric Young. And I think we can get at least a month out of the storyline with Rich Swann and EC3 anyway. And, you know, him and William Mack would be good baby faces to eventually feud with EC3's stable, even if it is just feuding with his disciples while someone else feuds with him for the world title. In terms of recognizable, yeah, this is where our Knockout champion is, Kylie Ray. Unfortunately though, but again, this one is going, this title feud 4 is more about the story and then getting her to be viewed as a champion. I understand that, you know, whoever holds the belt makes the belt kind of thing, but the belt will establish her at that level through the story. No one else really to talk about on this level. Valkyrie, of course, one half of our Knockouts champion. Knockouts tag team champions. Unimportant. Guys like Daniel Maccabee, Daga will eventually get wee pushes. I'd like to push Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz more maybe on TV. But that's sort of stuff that will come eventually. Like they will, I'm sure eventually Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan will get a title run, but for now we're not holding out on anything. Same with like the Deaners will eventually. I think we're going to do Violent by Design. So when we do that, we'll probably hit a push for the Deaners, even like a mid-card-ish tag team push, which is, to be fair, better than what they have now. Reset search. Now if we go to our size first, as you can see, we've sort of been going up in other areas, which is fine, but we need to hit a 59 in the southeast, which, you know, we're 14 away from, so we're a good bit away. And actually, there's a signing that I want to make, who's soon to be released from WWE, who I think will really aid us in pushing for this 59, because we've got everything else that we need to be a medium-sized promotion. And in fact, last month, if I go here, we were actually beaten in the southeast. We got a 57. We were almost 6 behind MLW. We were ahead of like Shine and NWA, but dominated by the MLW, which is annoying because there's not. I don't think if we go to their roster, can we filter to major stars? Yes, we can. I don't think there's anyone massive technically on their roster. Like Loki's in the high 40s. Mance Warner's in the sort of 49-50 range. And like that's their major stars. And if you go down to their stars, it's like there's not sort of the same level if you look at the popularity over here. And, you know, Myron Reed, Tom Lawler. Whereas like, you know, we have a lot of bigger name guys, so we probably should be putting on better shows than them. So if we go to our shortlist like we were going to, and the man we're talking about is this man here, Jeff Hardy, obviously a former Impact alum. We haven't bid for him just yet because I wanted to run it by everybody. Obviously, look, the reason that I think he fits is one, even if we will probably give him a title run because you can't really bring Jeff Hardy in Impact Wrestling and not put the belt on him at some point. But I think there's other stuff interesting you can do outside of the belt. You know, put him back in there with Moose, Ace Austin, Chris Bay, Trey, Wednesdays, the other rascals, you know. And he could he'd be a huge star, obviously. Bigger so than the likes of, I guess probably what RVD was closer to the start of the save, before we made him lose all the time. But, you know, Jeff would be great for us. He'd be a big babyface, something we need. And, you know, he's having really good matches comparatively to what we have. You know, he's 76. And yes, there's a lot of like big names in there, but you know, he's having a 60 with Brandon Vink on Raw there. 67 with Jinder. So like there's stuff, you know, not all of his matches are, you know, like yes, he's got that 83 with like Rey Mysterio, Daniel Bryan and Kevin Owens, but if he's having a 60 and 67s and stuff with lower card guys in WWE, although they're probably more over than our talent, you know, a 60 for us is amazing. You know, 67 for us would be nuts. I'm sure we could have a 67 with Sami Callihan. That'd be great, a hardcore match between him and Sami Callihan. I'm sure we could have a great match, you know, with any of the guys we previously mentioned who are in our main event scene. So I think Hardy would be the go-to guy here. His 2,200 per show, which is more than we're spending on most guys, but he's also more over than most guys that we would be able to get. And, you know, obviously the plan for this save is to build up the future of Impact Wrestling, which is the way you've got to go with it, because you can't book the same way as Impact in real life anymore, or anywhere close to that. So you've just got to build a new, you know, we're sort of trying to redo what Impact, I guess, did in their prime, whatever year you want to think that is. They brought through a lot of their own guys, or, you know, guys who were doing stuff similarly on ROH. They gave them another platform. Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, AJ Styles, the Guns, the Beer Money, stuff like that. Those guys were able to elevate themselves. I think Jeff Hardy can help us do that with Ace Austin, the Rascals, Chris Bay, stuff like that. So I think Jeff is probably an option that we will go to. Let me know what you think in the comments. Another guy we're interested in, Frankie Kazarian. His exclusive deal with AEW is running up. I think it's unrealistic that they wouldn't sign him back, but they're not. And I think Kazarian can fill that void for us, at least for 3 to 6 months. Where, since we don't have James Storm anymore, we need, you know, a new sort of guardian, you know, gatekeeper babyface on that side. I think we have RVD and eventually Eric Young on the heel side, so Kazarian could be an interesting addition to our upper mid-card face position. But again, you know, having good matches sort of in the 60 to 50 range, 57 average rating, I think you could put something good together for us. And $500 per show is absolutely nothing for Frankie Kazarian. So he's probably another likely signing, I think. If you go from the top here, is there anyone else I want to talk about? Chris Hero, unlikely to get him anytime soon. I think the thing is, with Chris Hero, I would want to put the belt on him at some point eventually, and I don't think we have a spot for that right now. Or at least have him have a big title feud, and again, I don't think in-game he's not over enough because he's not performing, I guess. He's sort of keeping his pop, but he's not performing. Nowhere else has signed him, much like in real life, although I think in real life it's more by his choice. So, a Chris Hero push, I know people in the comments want it, or want him to be brought in, but we're not looking at it at the minute. Austin Theory and Brian Pillman Jr. are people I'm thinking of that were. I thought of Austin Theory. Aaron Graham in the comment section suggested Brian Pillman Jr. and a couple of other guys in the last video. A lot of them have been added to the shortlist, so it's likely we'll go with Pillman and Theory to start with, at least for EC3 stable. Another on the Reddit, a user called Jason Bro commented, like, sort of explaining the Moose, suggested Moose, and then explained the Moose sort of EC3 storyline where EC3 wanted, in real life, wanted Moose to, you know, take control of his own narrative. He done a similar thing with Jay Briscoe in Ring of Honor. We didn't really do that with Moose in EC3 at the time. I don't think we'll put Moose in the stable, at least not straight away, as they feuded semi-recently. But, you know, we're probably going to call the stable the narrative. And, you know, it'll be about him. He's going to show Austin Theory and Brian Pillman Jr., these two young guys, how to control their narrative and how to get big in the business. And obviously, Austin Theory is no longer a toxic atmosphere backstage, so he is signable. Dario Baronato, another big name leaving WWE, 220 per show. Pretty much a definite sign for us. I think we'll probably actually send away this offer. She has been having decent matches. You know, averaging at 53, which for our women's division would be really big, I think. So, and her pop is, her pop's in the 30s, which is not amazing, but definitely something we can work with. She plays she's better as a heel. She's got plays swagger, badass legitimacy really well. So I think we will sign her 220 a show, and she's not a, if Dario Baronato, much like Deonna Purrazzo, left WWE tomorrow and had an Impact run, I don't look at Deonna Purrazzo. I know she never made it to the main roster, but I don't look at Deonna Purrazzo and be like, oh, there's WWE Deonna Purrazzo. You think, oh, there's Impact Wrestling's Deonna Purrazzo, and you could do something similar with Dario Baronato, where if she was in Impact or, Impact in this scenario for a couple of months, a year, you'd probably, and she won the Impact Knockouts Championship, you would think of her as Dario Baronato and not really Sonya Deville anymore. And I think that would be something we'd look down. Also, before I came onto this video, I thought, take a bit of a, I guess, AEW approach. Take Ken Shamrock, the most dangerous man alive, the most dangerous man on the planet. Put him with Dario Baronato. I think that would be money. It doesn't have to be the immediately first thing that we do with her, but you've got an MMA crossover athlete. You've got a man who we don't really use very much. We do have plans for him. Where is Ken? But we could definitely, make him a manager. He's got an MMA badass gimmick. We're going to push him a wee bit eventually. He's over enough that he would help Sonya. You can kind of talk. Not that Sonya can't, but if we did stick her as a face, or I guess you could probably turn him heel, maybe. Although it probably would be advised. Judging by his stats, he's 100% babyface. He'll at least struggle to be a heel, so. Is that true? Is he a bad heel in real life? I haven't seen a huge amount of Ken Shamrock. He was a wee bit, maybe before, when I was watching. But I think him with Dario Baronato, aka Sonya Deville, would be money in my opinion. Jeff also, by the way, has no offers. No offers. WWE aren't signing him. I think he turned them down. But AEW haven't bid for him, and they obviously would in real life, but in the game they're not. So we're going to take him. I think Jeff Hardy versus EC3, although yes, you might think that just screams Impact from like 2016-ish. That might be wrong, but I think it's probably where we're going to go. 2200 is probably a good idea. Let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think of Frankie Kazarian as a sort of gatekeeper for the main event. You could feud with Ace Austin, Chris Bay, another feud with Moose, I guess. Stuff like that. There's a lot of UK names on this list, and guys like El Hijo Del Wagner. He's maybe over enough that if we'd done another X Division thing in a while, we could bring him in. But a lot of the Impact names, the like UK names, aren't over enough. So if we do bring them in, as you can see here, we'll probably have to put them on Explosion for a while. I might give a couple of them like 3 to 6 months contracts, put them on Explosion for a while, have them lose a bit, get them on US TV a bit, and then maybe if they're doing good numbers, we could push them on to TV. But unless we do UK tour, I don't think we'll do that very often. But guys like El Hijo Del Wagner and some other guys on this list I don't know very well, so I'd probably have to watch them first before we start pushing them. Oh, he's on no, actually I didn't know that. Anyone else on this short list? I think Mark Haskins would be great at some point. Of course, he's very busy at the minute though. I think he'd be a great X Division champion, although we don't have plans for that at the minute. Again, puts on great matches, 57 popularity. His match history is sort of in the 67-ish range. Definitely be something we could use. And anybody else? We've put in a contract offer for 10, aka Preston Vance. AEW let him go. I think he'd be a good lower card jobber guy. He looks very interesting at the minute on AEW television. And I think he could, again, he'd be somebody that you wouldn't, obviously, if he left and went to Impact Wrestling for a while, you wouldn't think of him as always being 10. You could make him into Preston Vance, it would be fine. Rocky Romero, someone we're considering maybe bringing in and pairing with the Good Brothers if we need a third for them for a while. And Shane Haste. WWE let him go. I think Shane Hayes would be great in the X Division. I know he's not like a. It says technician high flyer. I guess that makes sense. Early TM61 was he was the flyer of that group. Before anyone asks, Nick Miller is actually or Mikey Nichols is busy. He's exclusive contracted to WWE, not WWE, New Japan Pro Wrestling. So we couldn't do. I think the Mighty O'Neill would be great in our division. Imagine the Mighty O'Neill against the Rascals. Or Chris Bailey or Rush if we do them again. You know, they'd have really good matches, but... And, you know, Hayes does have good stats. And, you know, he can play like a heel in our X division. I don't think we'll put him with EC3, because I don't want it to look like a total, like, just XWE guy stable, but I think it could be an option. And, you know, his stats do look better than they would be, because he's got like a 75 with Randy Orton and a 74 with Ricochet and a 74 with The Fiend. But, you know, there are other decent matches in there that I think if we put him on television, we could have a decent X Division guy there. Yohei, by the way, New Japan signed like a bunch of Noah guys. I didn't actually realize that. Like, a bunch of guys quit or left Noah when their contracts ran up and signed with New Japan. So I don't know if that's going to be a problem for Noah, but the more you learn, I guess. Is there anything else we need to look at here? So we've talked about EC3's stable. We've run through a couple of potential signings. Of course, leave your opinions on Jeff Hardy and Frankie Kazarian. WWE added some a singular Hall of Famer. They also, I think, had a new champion. Yeah, they did. Elias is their new Intercontinental Champion. Everybody else is the same, I believe. But I think that's a cool. I wouldn't be so hyped about Elias winning the belt now, but there was definitely, you know, if anybody's been way better, been made better by the main roster than they were in NXT, it's Elias. And if he ever won gold, I think it'd be interesting. He doesn't really fit the... I know the Honky Tonk Man won the Intercontinental Championship, but I guess when I see Elias, I don't think IC title. Maybe I think US title more. Not that that matters, though. It's just whatever brand he's on. But of course, they added a new Hall of Famer. They added Bully Ray. And I don't think that's... I think it's interesting. I don't think Bully Ray would go in on his own. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Maybe it's just because I seen Bully Ray when I was older. But I don't think of Bully Ray as a guy going in alone. I think of Bully Ray going in with Devon. Like, I think the Dudleys would go in. I don't think he would go in solo. Maybe that's ignorant of me, but you know, maybe if when he came back, he had that solo run that I think he wanted. He would have, but I don't think he'll realistically be a big a Hall of Fame entry. Oh, they also called up Finn Balor, which is, to be fair, impressive. There he is, actually. I don't have to do that. Has he had a main roster match yet? Beat Brendan Vink on Raw. He's had a couple of Raw matches since he hasn't picked up. He never picked up the NXT title in this world. It's still held by Keith Lee. Who is EJ and Duca? New to me. But yeah, so Finn Balor is on the main roster. Interesting. I don't think he's anywhere likely to go to the main roster in real life, but you know, he's really high pop, so the game can't really keep him down there forever. And I think that's more or less us for this episode. So a lot of new skills, like wrestling skills opened. This is the right button. No, that's alliances. Yeah, and a lot of new wrestling skills opened. I think Doug Williams opened one. If I can remember what it's called. Skill of Williams. Yeah, Doug Williams opened up his own wrestling skill. I think a couple of other veterans to retired guys opened up their own wrestling skill. Pretty interesting. Also, there's a current, like, who's attending this performance center. The UK one has, like, Titus O'Neil and stuff like that. Like, Titus O'Neil, and then this one has Dana Brooke, I think. Or is she not in it anymore? But there was a point where I opened this, essentially, and Dana Brooke was in there, which was super weird. odd things going on in the Performance Center. They sent down Titus to the UK Performance Center. Dana Brooke was briefly back in the Performance Center. Mojo Rawley is there, actually. I didn't even notice that. So, maybe WWE are doing weird things. That is this episode. It was a bit of a ramble, but that's kind of what these are. Our booking plans, possibly EC3 with Swan, then EC3 Jeff Hardy. EC3 is going to bring in the narrative at some point. Not immediately, but at some point with Brian Pillman Jr. and Austin Theory. I think Austin Theory fits the real mold of... I'm more familiar with Theory, obviously, and I think he really fits the mold of being like EC3's right-hand man. He's smug. I think you can sort of imagine the two of them suited and booted beside each other while EC3 talks about his current title run. We're going to do... Terre will have another opponent for the pay-per-view, which is Sacrifice, correct? While he waits on the decider of the Super X Cup. The tag team title feud is Good Brothers and North. The Knockouts title is a triple threat. And then we're going to crown number one contenders for the Knockouts tag belts. We're going to probably start doing Violent by Design. I enjoy this. I don't know if we're going to go quite as culty as they are in real life. I enjoy the aesthetic. We should probably add Joe Doring. We haven't actually added Joe Doring to the short list, but we should. Oof. He is not over 6s. He's over in Japan though. He does work over here. He's got kind of good. He's got good stats. 75 in Menace. We could maybe use that. We'll shortlist him. We could maybe work on him in the background before we add him. Like, we can maybe put him on the show before. We could probably put him on Explosion for a while before we eventually push him to be with EY. And then, is there anything else that we're doing? That's probably the feuds. We've got a Chris Bay feud coming. I don't want to say who it's with. And Moose will... I think Moose has... I've planned out the next sort of couple of months up to... With at least... I've got like one match a month the whole way to Slammiversary. Most of them are just title matches, but... we do have a plan up until Slammiversary. Of course, it's like 7 months away though, so... We've got plenty of time. And... let me... Drop down below who you want to see Dario Baronato, Jeff Hardy, and Kazarian face if they all come in. I think we're going to probably sign all three of them. We're making like 100k a month. We can probably afford all three of them. And I think there's a spot for all three of them. I think, at first at least, we might not pair up per Baronato and Shamrock. But on the same way, we actually maybe could pair them up soon. The thing is that Shamrock doesn't play a good heel. And Baronato is a better heel, right? Because you don't want his act to take away from what we're doing with her. What's a career woman? Oh, didn't know that. But you don't want her act to take away, his act to take away from hers. You want it to do what AEW are doing with a lot of their guys. You would want Ken Shamrock to accentuate Dario Baronato's strengths. But I think, it could be something that would work if we could do it just right. TEW don't have like a tweener option, do they? At least not like a formal one. I think you have to change it in product to have like, But we wouldn't want to change any of that stuff because it would mess with our actual stuff. Like, it would mess with our actual product and mess with our size on our fans. But I'm sure we could work it out some way. We could maybe just have Baronato be heel, but treat her like a bit of a tweener. Although you can't really do that either, because you'd have to have a lot of heel on heel matches. Or we could just treat her like a tweener in her alliance with Ken Shamrock, but have her face a lot of baby faces. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. Ken Shamrock, Dario Baronato, Jeff Hardy returned to Impact Wrestling. Frankie Kazarian returned to Impact Wrestling. Those are all the big questions. Thank you again for checking out this episode. Thanks for all the recent likes and views on the videos. and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.